last year, the Department of Labor, the EBSA, which governs or has some oversight with respect to qualified retirement plans, released some guidance on investment due diligence, and in that guidance, they while not specifically talking about ESG or sustainable investing, they kind of hinted around that. And the interim final guidance came out, and there was just a litany of written responses. And I think many of us learned a new word. I'm not the smartest person, but I consider myself to have a pretty decent vocabulary. But this phrase, pecuniary, came up in their guidance, and so late last year that guidance was finalized. And I know that the current administration and their Department of Labor is reassessing this as well. But as a retirement committee who has a fiduciary duty to ensure that they're following some generally accepted investment methodology and offering their investment menu, what tips or thoughts do you have on the process that they could be able to fulfill in analyzing investments, including ESG or sustainable investments, and get comfortable around including them in their investment menus in light of perhaps a gray area currently with respect to this topic?
Yeah, I'd start by saying, as of this recording, the DOL has issued basically a non-enforcement of that previous rule. And I think, it might be some time, we think it will be in the coming months when we'll, have some additional guidance from the DOL, and that it should be, I wouldn't necessarily use the word favorable, but I think it should hopefully offer some clarification to plan fiduciaries on how to approach this space. And in talking to our retirement specialists, it's really our view that it makes sense to apply the same process. I think I mentioned this earlier. Apply the same process to selecting ESG funds that you would any other fund that you're choosing. Performance, manager tenure, expenses, style, drift, you name it. With the current DOL language of the Trump era rule, you could be at risk if you make concessions for a fund simply because it's ESG, or make a fund selection solely based on its ESG characteristics. I don't know that there are any plan fiduciaries out there that would be doing that, but the good news is that there are enough high quality sort of ESG fund options out there that take this sort of more holistic approach. It's really focused on those better outcomes over time, that you don't necessarily have to make those concessions when including ESG funds. So we'd say, follow the same process. I'm certainly not a retirement plan specialist, but that's sort of how we're thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. And Clarice just highlighted the main point that was overwhelmingly made in the gigantic list of responses to that initial DOL rule from really almost everyone who's practicing in the field, saying, hey, there's no disagreement that the fiduciary standard for these products should be exactly as high as it is for all other products. But once you meet that fiduciary standard, why would there be a whole separate category of consideration here when that doesn't exist in any other circumstance? So we'll see what the final determination is here. But I think in the meantime, as Clarice just mentioned, for the vast majority of participants and plan sponsors, the core question has always been that investment merit and fiduciary question to begin with. And in general, that's a pretty good ground to stand on in any circumstance.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.